Thank you for joining us again this week, here with Coach Monty Fritz. All right, Coach, not a little different week than we've had before. Winning the Hayfield, homecoming game for them, 63-41 to the final.
Yep.
You guys were up 27 early. Talk about the game.
So, I think one of the really interesting things that happened the week before we played Hayfield.
All right.
And that Robinson really did some stuff to Hayfield that I wasn't excited about because I knew it would change kind of what Hayfield was doing. And, they came out much different than I think we had seen them the last couple of weeks because I think they didn't like what happened to them and they want to make changes about it. I think the bye week helped us in some aspects. Like we were able to kind of game plan up like what their weaknesses were. We came out early. I thought Timmy was really sharp. Jordan Reed had just a heck of a screen. Darian played really well. Damian Burke had a long touchdown, and before you know it's 20-7. And I thought the key play of the game happened right after. That's probably something people kind of forget about. It's 4th and 16 for Hayfield. We were up 20-7, and we busted coverage, and Brian Cobb gets a wide open touchdown. I think if we get a stop there, that might be a completely different game. But for us, I think it was the first really big game we've played in. I think, we talked to the kids. I'd asked some previous players when I took the job last year, what's the one thing that you want to have at Mount Vernon that you never had? And they said, we want to play in big games, right? And so that was a big game for us. And at some points, I think it looked like a big game for us. Where the moment was bigger than what we were used to playing in. It made some kids uncomfortable. And then obviously, Coach Henderson made some great adjustments. Instead of rotating quarterbacks around, they settled on one guy, and I appreciate him doing that for us. And then they also did a much better job of getting Brian Cobbs the ball. And the one thing that Brian does that maybe some other people don't do is he impacts the entire defense. Because we are planning on doubling him wherever he goes, and because they decided this week to move him all around the field, it really messed with our coverage, right? And so then we had a lot of busts and a lot of mess ups because they were showing things that maybe we weren't prepared for. That's on me as a head coach. We got to be ready for that kind of stuff. And so, some other guys were able to get wide open touchdowns because we're too worried about Brian, right? And that's something that great players do, right? I've had those kind of players before. When you have 4- and 5-star kids on your team, it makes every other kid better. And I think that was something that happened. I think the thing that I'm extremely proud of, though, game's 35-26 at halftime, right? We're in it. We're in a shootout. Timmy gets hurt on the first possession of the third quarter, and he's out for, I think, 3-4 series, and Hayfield kind of builds a lead on us. They could have blown the doors off of us, right? We were at a point where that game could have turned into 70-28, but we fought and we kind of kept it close, kept giving us a chance to get back in it. So, I left the game at a good place. Obviously, I'm very disappointed that we lost, and I think we could have played better and showed better in some areas, especially on defense. But I left knowing that we can win playoff games, right? That's a really good football team. And I think, Coach Henderson would say the same thing. There's no way that team should have 2 losses now. No. They're bigger than they look on film. They have 2 defensive ends that look like they were 7 foot tall. They're long, they're fast, they're obviously well coached. And I thought we were there. We could have, we were there. So that's exciting, but we have got to be better the next big test that we get. And hopefully by getting punched in the face a little bit and then showing that we can kind of stay through it, I'm excited about that process because this is a process, right? I was telling some coaches yesterday, we were on the phone, I was like, if you thought that in year 2 we were going to go to Hayfield and win 79-25 like we've been doing the last 5 weeks, you're crazy. It's a process to learn how to win big games. We're much closer than we've ever been, but we still have to keep getting better.
So in a game like that, when they kind of they got on a run where it was just score after score. What's that like as a coach when you're in the middle of that and you're seeing that happen?
So I think the first thing you have to do is you have to try to prevent everyone from panicking, right? Because immediately what you get from maybe players who are new to that situation and new coaches, we have new coaches that aren't used to being in that situation, everybody wants to panic and just change everything that we're doing. And that's how those situations go from bad to worse, right? So we're just trying to keep everybody calm, get everybody settled down, and then you kind of have to, you just got to weather it, right? Like, this is part of life, right? Like, bad things are going to happen. Like, how are we going to respond to it? And I thought for the most part, it took us a second, right? Like, we took some body blows for a while, but eventually we figured out it's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that bad. And I think we'll be better from being in that experience.
Mm-hmm. Timmy got nicked up in that game?
Yep.
It seemed to, when you lose your quarterback in the middle of a game like that, it changes things for you offensively. One, how is he doing? And two, what were you able to, or what kind of adjustments did you try to make when he went out of the game?
So we went in with the mindset of understanding that we thought one of their weaknesses was guarding the quarterback. Timmy had, even though Timmy only played like 3 quarters, Timmy rushed for like 82, 83 yards, had 2 rushing touchdowns, had like a really great rushing touchdown down at the end zone where he broke a couple tackles. But the thing with that, you're going to run with your quarterback, he can get beat up. And the kid rolled up on the back of his leg, and he sprained his ankle really, really bad. No break, which is good for us. But sprained ankles linger around for a while, so we're going to have to protect him. But he's fine. I think he'll play Friday. We'll probably keep him safe all week, and then test him on Friday, make sure he can go. I was really proud of Timmy. The trainer came to me during the game and was just like, he can't make it worse, but he's dealing with a lot of pain, right? So, and he just kind of stayed in my ear, right? Like, my plan was not to kind of put him back in, but he's just like, he's not barking at me, but he's just like, Coach, I can do it. Like, I can do it. So we made like a deal, like after, our backup had done a couple, and I thought our backup quarterback played well. The difference is, like, Timmy's a thrower who can run.
Right.
Our backup quarterback is a runner who can throw. And he had not gotten a ton of reps for the Hayfield week because we were planning on Timmy, and so it changed us. So we kind of made it as like, Timmy, I'm going to give you this play. We're going to test you on this play. If you don't look good, you're done. Yeah. And he looks good, and he kind of fought his way through it. And so I'm really proud of him. Like, I think he was a great leader for us, and he's one of the reasons that we fought back into it. We cut the lead to 15, had the ball, and we fumble, right? Like, we're driving down the field to cut it to 1 possession, and we get a fumble. Just plays like that if we make, we got a chance.
Yeah. All right, so you talked about Brian Cobbs. He changes the dimension of the field and what you're able to do on defense, but they also seem like they keyed a lot on Darian. So I know you want to get the ball more to Darian, but Jordan Reed steps up in a big way. I don't know if I've ever seen a runner as young as he is with as much patience. The screen that you talked about, he was tremendous on waiting for his blocks to set up and all that stuff. It was impressive to watch that up close.
Yeah. I mean, he's a sophomore, and I know I just think he's tremendous, and he's a kid that has just been carrying the load for us. He had 90 yards receiving, 100 yards rushing on Friday against a really good team. A lot of that is like, I thought our offensive line blocked pretty well. Like, we had some holes. We rushed for 240 yards against Hayfield. Like, that's really good. That was our game plan, was to rush and hold the ball and try to keep the ball away from them. But some of that stuff is just him, right? Like, he's special in space. Even on that screen pass, like, he was patient, but at the end of the day, he still made 3 guys miss, right? Like, he's patient, let his blockers get out ahead, but, like, he is a game changer. I'm excited about, like, where he's going to be in a couple of years, because I know the weight room's going to really impact him, and he's going to get even bigger and even faster and even stronger. And I think that's really scary, because he is not only is our best running back, he might have the best hands on our team. I mean, he had a one-handed catch over the middle that was just unbelievable. He also is one of our best special teams player, the opening kickoff. Like, they tried to run something kind of funky on the opening kickoff, and he makes a tackle on the 3-yard line. I mean, he just plays hard all the time. So definitely excited about him. And even in the game, like, a lot of our best players were underclassmen, right? Like, I thought we had a corner who played really well, and Brian caught a couple of passes on him, but I thought he was really good. Skylar Davis, I thought he played really, really well. Kofi Kwarteng, the kid who played backup quarterback for us, is an underclassman. So we definitely have a lot of excitement with our kids, and it sucks to lose, but I think we've built a good foundation for us to continue to succeed past this year. When Darian and Timmy and those guys graduate, I'm not worried about like what the future holds, because I know we have guys in the wings that are ready to go. But they did try to take away Darian a lot from us, so we moved Darian around. He had probably 11 carries, and I think he had like 75 yards rushing. He looked good for us, but we they started gashing us, so we had to throw him on defense to try to help slow it down.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes away from some of his offense when he's having to go both ways like that. But he's still Darian. He's still great. Still had a great touchdown catch early in the game, and a couple of really tough catches over the middle, and some good rushes. But that's what people are going to do to good players.
Yeah. Well, and I think 40 for them had been out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I thought he was a real difference maker on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about this earlier. Like, their ends are big, like long and tall. Like, you don't see that on film, right? Like, and some of it was the teams that we saw him play were kind of power running teams in our scout film. So we hadn't seen them had to spread out. But like 89 at 40, or at least they look 6'5", 6'6", really long arms. Like, that's really disruptive for us. They have a really good team.
They do. Well, let's get past it. Move on. I'm not even going to bring up Tennessee, but
they're off, so they didn't lose this weekend. I thought we would talk about them today.
No, I didn't want to. I don't want it unless you're unhappy about it. So,
we didn't lose, so that's good.
You got Stuart coming up.
Yep.
Stuart has a guy. They got a guy, Elijah Jeffries, 25. That he'll jump out at you right away on film. He's fast. He's small. He's fast. But they present some problems. Talk about them and what you've been able to see from them so far.
So obviously we'll get like another test quickly on like spread teams. Something about our schedule that I think has really hurt us has been the fact that we've played 5 teams that have not prepared us for a conference schedule. Gotcha. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. Like, the 5 teams that we played are in no way close to what Hayfield, West Po, and TC are. That's okay. We got that schedule because the program was so bad before I got here, so we inherited a bad schedule. And I thought that was part of the issue we had Friday, was we had not been tested the way Hayfield can test us. Stewart's going to line up in similar ways that Hayfield does. They're a spread 4 or 5 wide team. They have 2 guys who can really go. 25, and I think the other kid's number 7 or number 9 is a tall kid. They're really, really fast. They have a quarterback who has a lot of yards passing. But at the end of the day, it's a team that I think we are better than, and we can't let Hayfield beat us twice. Right? Like, we can't let Hayfield beat us twice, because we still have the opportunity to do a lot of great things. Like, we're still number 3 in the power ratings right now, so we're still hosting a playoff game. Like, we can't let one loss turn into 2. And so, like, the conversation with the kids after the game is, like, it really doesn't matter who we play this Friday. Like, we can't let Hayfield beat us on Monday, right? Like, Hayfield beat us on Friday, that's okay, they're going to beat a lot of teams. But, like, if we let them beat us on Friday and on Monday, that's when I'm going to get really upset. And then, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I still think the kids understand. I think they left there like, all right, they beat us. I think we can play with them, but we got to move on and get ready for Stuart. It's at Stuart, so we got to travel over there. But I think the kids are excited. I mean, Stuart's been a team I think Mount Vernon's played the last 3 or 4 years, so I think there's a little bit of a rivalry there between the 2 schools, because we know each other well.
Yeah. Well, and you and Coach Martin over there kind of took the programs over at the same time, both doing the same type of thing. So. Last thing I wanted to ask you, really. I mean, we talk to you every week. I've talked to you. Game night. You sound like a totally different person. Your voice and everything changes. Is that like your quarterback voice coming out of you when you coach on the sideline? Because that's what it comes across. It sounds like you're about to bark out a call on the field.
It's a good thing we film on Sunday, because I really can't speak on Saturdays. I don't know. I have a different level of intensity that I think I coach with. I don't think that's abnormal. I know a lot of people like that. I think it does catch people off guard, because I think outside of football, like, everybody knows me as this like jokester, funny guy who's like making jokes about the kids on Twitter and doing that kind of stuff. But and to be honest with you, I've changed how I coached when I became a head coach. Right, like, when you're an assistant coach, you can be a different cat. Right, like, you can be you follow what the head coach does. I know that everything at Mount Vernon flows through me, right? And so, like, I have to demand excellence from everybody, coaches, players. And so I'm really fired up. And game days, especially Friday, like, it's such a big game. I'm really fired up, and I know that the kids are going to get that energy from me. And that's one thing I told them when I came here is, there could be 10 seconds on the clock. We could be down 100. Like, I'm going to coach you the same way the score, the time, it does not matter to me. But yeah, I'm a different guy. People say that all the time about my voice, and I know people all over the stands probably hear me going bananas, but I love our kids and I love our team, and I'm really proud of what they've done so far, but obviously there's some areas we still have to get better in, but I'm excited about getting there.
So I want to have Mrs. Fritz on one day, because I want to know what you're like. Like, I want to know what you're like this weekend after that game on Friday. Like, or is she going to tell me that you're annoying to deal with around the house, or is she gonna, are you okay? You kind of put it off.
Well, she might tell you I'm annoying to deal with every day. It might have to be dependent on wins or losses. To be honest, you know, I learned a long time ago that, and we talk about this with the kids all the time, like, there's a time when football is very important, and there's a time when football is not important. And like, I'm with our kids and with our program so much that when I'm with my family, I try not to think about football. Now it's hard. Like, I wanted to throw up all day yesterday, and you know, I was just, you know, you're just in a bad mood. But like, I really enjoy spending time with my family and my son and my wife. So I try my best to, you know, like yesterday, like I just took my son and we went out to eat. Like, we just went and got breakfast together, and like, just try to not think about it and not talk about it. I do that with the rest of my staff. Like, I tell they're not allowed to talk to me on Saturdays. Like, I don't want emails, I don't want phone calls. And part of that is like, I've seen and I've been a part of so many programs, like at Friendship. Like, sometimes I think football is just too important. To where, like, I saw coaches, you know, coaches go through divorce. Like, there's a high percentage of coaches that get divorced. There's a high percentage of coaches that have like marital problems, and it's all because their priorities are off. And it's really easy, because I love football a lot and I love our kids a lot. It's really easy for me to get my priorities screwed up. So I tell our staff, like, you got to leave me alone on certain days, right? And it's not a mean thing. I want them hanging out with their families, and I want to hang out with my family. So hopefully yesterday I thought I was, you know, not that I'm judging myself, I thought it was pretty good. Like, I wasn't in a bad mood or anything. Like, you know, internally it was driving me nuts. But that's something I've learned is, you know, early in coaching careers, you take losses a little too personal. Sometimes, you know, and nobody ever wants to say this, because like the correct coaching word, and like if you get a lot of coaches on here, they're going to tell you like losing's never a lot. Like, sometimes losing is very important, right? Like, learning how to lose is like a really great skill, because you're never going to be perfect in life, right? And so I think it's a great thing to get beat, because you learn more when you get beat. Like, I still remember the word I misspelled in my 6th grade spelling bee, right? Like I hate losing. So like, I don't remember what words I spelled correctly in that spelling bee, but I do remember the time that I misspelled a word. So you can take losses and you can grow from them and get better, or you can take losses and be in a bad mood and just be a jerk to everybody. Like, what does that help, right? Like, I don't know. I try to save my intensity for certain times, and with my wife and son is, you know, I don't think that's one of the times. So if you had her on, she would I don't know what she would say. It might be funny.
I got to talk to Mrs. Fritz.
Yeah.
I used to coach like 9-year-olds in basketball. And there's still a game that there's a guy that played receiver at Woodson named Jack Caldwell, scored 40 points on me in a championship game and won the game. I still am bitter, but
and I'm still bitter about us losing. So I don't want people to think I'm not competitive. It's just
no. Watch him on the sideline. You'll see that's not the case.
I just. You know, if we're going to tell our kids that priorities are important, like we tell them all the time, like school's more important than football, like we'll hold kids out of practice and things for school. Like, I can't be a hypocrite and go home and treat football more important than my wife and my son, right? Like, I want my kids to grow up and be great husbands and great fathers, because at the end of the day, with all the crazy stuff that happens in our world, if we had really great husbands and really great fathers all over the world, like, a lot of those issues would go away. So that's kind of one of the driving points that I try to make with our young men all the time. But to be honest with you, like, they make me a better husband, a better father, because, like, you know, I think we've talked about this before. Like, Mount Vernon has such a bad reputation when I got here. Like, we have great kids, like, just great kids. Like, Jordan Reed is like with my son right now. Like, I trust him with my son. Like, they're my family. They're like his brothers. Like, he comes to practice and everything all the time. And like, Mount Vernon is such a great, like, look at the gym. Like, this is the greatest gym in the county. So, you know, I think there's a lot of a lot of ways you can take certain things, and this has been a great place for me. Like, I get so much credit for all this stuff. Like, I promise you, like, I think everybody thought I was on like suicide watch on Friday. I got like 100 text messages and Facebook and Twitter messages, like, you know, and like my response is like, I get way too much credit for everything that happens. Yeah. Like, it's Timmy, it's Jordan, it's Darian, it's Mateo, and it's Chad, like kids who don't play but come to practice every day and try to make us better. Like, those are the kids that I'm encouraged by, because like I never really sat on the bench. Like, not that I was like the world's greatest player or anything, but like I was always lucky to be 6'4" and be decently athletic.
Me too.
Yeah. So I always got to play. So like I always have a lot of respect for the kids on our team, because we have 120 kids. Like, there's a lot of kids that don't get to play, and they still come to practice every day really hard. So those kids encourage me to, like, I can't get in my feelings and be sad and not coach hard, because they want to be great and they want to be better. So that's kind of our push.
Excellent. Well, no, it's not the best day to do it, but I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah.
Good luck against Stuart.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. See you next week.